Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 8th edition of the F1 Agenda podcast. I am your returning host, Callum, or CRT, and I'm joined here today by Daniel.
Hello.
Simon.
Hey.
Jeebus.
Hello, everyone.
Geordie.
Hi, people.
And last but not least, Saf.
Hello.
That is everyone today, and as you can see by the title, we are discussing the Monaco Grand Prix that happened last Sunday. And firstly, I'd like to say that we've obviously recorded a podcast on the previous, last year's one, and we completely panned it. And the first question, I want to start off a bit different. I want to ask you guys: do you think this one was worse than last year's?
No,
It was slightly better.
I enjoyed it.
It was better than last year because there was more tension, let's say, because you didn't know what was going to happen with some people. Won't spoil it yet, but
yeah, obviously we're going to get straight into it, but it was a feeling of tension throughout the thing. Obviously, coming into it, we had a bit of a boring race in Spain, as you guys have covered. But it's Monaco, and obviously the hype around it, the jewel of the calendar. So there's a lot of hype around it always. But we're going to get into the highlights. So free practice 3 was an interesting one. We saw Max Verstappen crash out, which guys, do you want to take us through that?
well, it was basically inch by inch to what he did in 2016.
Yeah.
He did exactly the same. Through swimming pool, hit the inside barrier, broke the turning arm or turning vanes, launched over the curbs, and smashed into the wall.
Fuck's sake.
Yeah, obviously, if you guys were watching, it meant we had to have a new gearbox. So that was, that made him miss qualifying in the end, which pretty bad for him, I'd say. He was obviously.
If there's any place you want to miss qualifying, this is not the place.
Well, I'm just gonna say, the gearbox wasn't actually why he missed quali. Basically, they had it all set up, and then they had a leak. I think it was about 20 minutes beforehand, before Q1 started. So they had to strip everything down again. So then there was no way they were gonna make it.
Yeah, it's quite heartbreaking for Max because, as we'll get on, the Red Bulls were a class above the rest, as I say, through pace-wise. In obviously, Daniel Ricardo had dominated all the free practice sessions. He'd been putting in fastest times, did his quali simulation in free practice 3, and he was on the pace. So obviously, imagine what Max could have done. Just thinking about it.
He would have won. I have no doubt he would have won because, obviously, as we saw, Ricardo had his issue in the race.
Yeah.
So then he would have just capitalised on that. Red Bull were just miles ahead. They had a Grand Slam effectively because they topped every single session and they led every single lap. And they got faster. They were just so far ahead. And it was interesting about Max because you looked at the likes of Vettel and Hamilton and Ricardo. In practice, they always left something on the table. They were close to the walls as you are in Monaco, but they were never on it. They were never flirting with it. Whereas Max was just always 110% in every single lap, and obviously that's why he crashed.
Yeah. Obviously, it's you make a good point there, G. He was pushing the car like mad, and obviously that's what Max does. He pushes the car to its limits, and that's obviously shown he's had 6 mistakes in the first 6 rounds of the calendar. Obviously, some of them are his fault, some of them really were just unfortunate. But
they were his fault.
Yeah, I mean, Spain. I mean, Stroll was extremely.
Spain was his fault. You can't be if he wants to be a world champion, you have to read those situations better. And you think about it, Stroll's being lapped, so and Stroll had an issue, I think. So Max was going to overtake him very quickly, so he shouldn't have been so close to then just be in that situation to get damage.
That's a fair point you make, but getting back to what I was saying, he's obviously had like quite a really rough start to the season. That's not really what he wanted when I go into this race. I don't know who made the point, but it was the worst place to not qualify, and obviously he started 20th. But shall we get into qualifying?
Yeah.
So obviously, with Max going out in Q1 automatically, that meant we had 4 people going through, and there was a bit of drama at the end of Q1 because Leclerc went straight on Sandoval, which destroyed quite a lot of lap times, especially Brendan Hartley. I remember seeing.
Yeah. Leclerc and Brendan Hartley didn't have a very pally weekend.
I think that's probably the best way to put it.
Well, yeah. I mean, Parmaline's race has been screwed by Leclerc 2 times this weekend, so we'll get into that. But yeah, I don't know I don't know if I have the qualifying, but I think it was the 2 Haas's having a shocker, starting 90th and 20th after Grosjean had his penalties.
18th and 19th.
But Yeah, 18th, 19th, sorry. And then Ericsson as well as Hartley were out. Yeah, wasn't it? Yeah, it was Lance. Sorry, he struggled quite a lot. I'm trying to try and remember, but yeah, he struggled compared to his teammates throughout it, and he just didn't look on the ball. We'll get onto that later, but yeah. Getting to Q2, obviously we had a Leclerc who looks quite good actually. I was looking through that. Like, obviously Sauber's quite. It's got that 20. It's got the Ferrari engine in it. He looked quite good, wouldn't you say, guys?
His 3rd consecutive P14 in qualifying.
Yeah.
Which is very good for that Sauber.
Like 3rd time in a row, he had beaten Ericsson by a comfortable margin.
Yeah.
Well,
he's finally got a grips with F1 and the car.
Yeah.
I was about to say if he's outclassed his team, obviously Ericsson, not really known as the best driver, but I mean he's had a decent season so far. But I mean that's kind of homage to the car as well, because I mean Sauber have pulled quite a nice car out there so far. Like it's been quite consistent. Like no real like engine failures or anything like that. They're making the use of the Ferrari engine, wouldn't you guys say?
Yeah.
I think they're using it to their advantage because I think one of their main pros to their car is that it's quite slippery in a straight line.
Yeah. But yeah, getting on to like just overall, I think Sauber have been quite good this season, and I think they'll continue to get better throughout the season. Like, obviously we've seen them in well, I mean Azerbaijan was lucky, but Spain, like Leclerc drove the wheels off that car, and in this race he was kind of unlucky. We'll get on to it, but let's get on to Q1. Oh, sorry, TBC, you want to say anything?
I just want to say that Azerbaijan wasn't that lucky. Like they were lucky with the P6, P7 that they got, but they did have genuine competitive pace. If it was a non-race, I think they would have got points.
Yeah, I mean you say that, but I think I think they'd probably been at like 11th. Probably at best of Leclerc. I mean, because we had you had Grosjean and the 2 Red Bulls. I think we've already covered this, but like Grosjean and the 2 Red Bulls had been out, so that's instantly down to 9th. But I don't think he would have been even with a safety car. I don't think he would have been up there.
He was quicker than a few like midfield teams.
Yeah, I mean Ocon as well. Obviously, we saw what Perez could do, so I think he wouldn't have got points there. But I think we'll kind of move on for this. Obviously, it's the Monaco Grand Prix we're talking about. So
I'm just. I think that Sauber isn't as bad as people make out. Obviously, at Monaco it is because it's got virtually no downforce. It's very much like a Williams.
Yeah. So let's get on to Q1. So It was a quite a nice lap from Ricardo. Does anyone just elaborate on it?
Oh, it's a great lap.
Master class. To put
He was untouchable basically all weekend. Minus Verstappen. I'd say if Verstappen was up there, I would say that would have been a Red Bull front row, easy.
He's busy.
It was what, like 4 tenths quicker?
Yeah.
Like 4 tenths at Monaco is like a second anywhere else. It's ridiculous.
He beat Vettel by 2 tenths because there was a 1:10.8 for Ricardo and a 1:11.0.
Yeah,
so he was but no, it's fine. But like literally, like you still got a great point there because they were untouchable. Like I couldn't see anyone else apart from probably Verstappen like matching that. Like what I was when I saw him putting that in Q1, I was like, yeah, he's got pole definitely. Like no way that Vettel was going to match that. Like even with like the Ferrari power around Monaco.
Yeah.
Obviously, the Mercedes were quite going through from Q2 to Q1. They were quite shaky. I mean, I don't know what it was with the Mercedes this weekend. Whether it was
Merck came into this weekend knowing they weren't going to be on the pace. I think they tried something different in Q2. Like they tried to qualify on ultras, but it just didn't work out.
It just didn't have the pace.
Feel horribly.
So they had to move over to the hypers.
They were what, P14 and P11, I think.
Yeah, something like that.
So that car it doesn't work on the softest tyres, and it's got like not enough downforce.
I think in Monaco, the wheelbase is too long as well. Because I think the Merc car is one of the longest on the grid, so it isn't very like nimble to the smaller corners.
No.
Also, another on qualifying, Monaco needs a special format in some form of way because Q1 was just a mess.
Oh yeah.
God, yeah.
I mean, you get to some laps with like 4 cars just basically stopped on the apex. Just like, I mean, this isn't qualifying. This is a car park.
Yeah, I mean, what was it? Bottas, Raikkonen. There was Hartley who got blocked quite a lot of times. I mean, it was like, obviously, because it's such a short track, like it was so hard to find space, especially with like 20 cars out or 19 cars out at one time. Like maybe, like potentially, it's incredible. Like that they found that much space. I mean, like there wasn't any serious incident. Like, obviously, there's a few blocking, but it wasn't like, you know, to like it wasn't like lap ruining, like almost like well in Hartley's case it was, but it wasn't horrific, and I think it's like an homage to the drivers, obviously.
I believe they should go to what F2 does when you split the session into 2 different groups.
Yeah.
I think that would work for Q1, possibly Q2 as well. Like do like 2 8-minute sessions. So then, like you've got more excitement there as well.
Yeah, because the curve, the normal format just doesn't work in Monaco with these cars. Like it's just track is too tight, it's too small, and P wants to go and set lap times. It's just it doesn't work.
Yeah, I mean you made a good point, but it's just whether the FIA and like would like allow that, like just like specifically for that track.
I think.
Well, they probably will. Like they allow a special qualifying format for Le Mans in a few weekends time. I don't see why they wouldn't do something the same for Monaco, especially now that it show it has problems.
If enough people ask for it, I think it could happen.
Yeah. And as we've been seeing post-race, like we've got Alonso and Hamilton like complaining, and Hamilton particularly saying that he said to Prince Albert that something about the weekend needs to change. And if because they're not going to change the track, there's no way they would do that. And they can't, like, there's nothing else they can really do to add any excitement. Because, like, as we saw, we had soft tyres which were degradable, which people say would improve racing, and it clearly didn't.
Yeah, I mean, like what was it? We'll get into it, but it's just the super soft tire looked like the tire to be on. Like if you look like in that first like stint from like 20 laps to 35, like everyone on the super soft was gaining massively, and it just obviously everyone had like graining problems, especially Hamilton.
Did
It was
you-
just ridiculous.
yeah.
Like
I think it was more car based.
Like the only like of the top three teams to actually pick the right thing was Mercedes and Bottas with the super soft, like, and
yeah,
like
but then you couldn't.
the tires was very strange this weekend because they behaved very differently depending on which car they were on. Mercedes been out saying like the Toro Rosso was faster on the high soft than they were, which
It
is
was mad. Like, Gasly was mad.
yeah.
Right, shall we get on since we're going to talk on the race now? Shall we just sum up qualifying? So obviously, Ricardo got pole by 2/10 from Vettel. Hamilton was in third, and then I think we had Raikkonen in fourth. Bottas in quite a lowly fifth, where he was very off the pace, and then I think we had was it Sainz in sixth?
No, it was Ocon.
Ocon.
Oh, it was Ocon's.
Ocon with the
He did a mad job. Force India came out
Yeah,
of nowhere on Saturday.
We'll talk about it. Obviously, we'll talk about like the pace of like Force India, but you know, definitely in like for a car that's so like known for like its straight line speed and everything, and being really quick on things like Monza and Canada, they were incredibly like nimble, like versatile around Monaco. I'd say, like Ocon showed that clearly. And Perez on fourth. Well, we'll get onto the race, but he had an unfortunate race. But you know, it would have been a very nice double points finish for them. But Ocon sixth, Sainz in seventh, very good for him. Alonso in eighth.
Alonso.
Yeah, Alonso. Sorry.
Yeah, I think Alonso was seventh.
Alonso was eighth. He made the move
No,
up the inside
Alonso's
in turn one.
Alonso
Wasn't
was seventh, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, in quality,
Yeah.
Alonso was on.
I mean, I have the results in front of me right now.
Yeah. Okay. Do you want to take us through the rest of the results? Then I
Of
don't
course.
know. Just
Alonso P7 and Sainz 8th, and Perez in 9th, and Gasly P10.
First time Sainz has outqualified Hulkenberg this season.
Well, properly.
Is it?
Because of course he did do it in Spain, but
Hulkenberg just did. He wasn't on the pace.
That was more because he had a penalty.
Yeah, but
It was
also because he
Hulkenberg
went out with engine issues in Q1. But
Yeah.
this is the first time on pure pace he's out qualified him.
Yeah. Sainz
Hulkenberg just
Sainz has
look-
always done well at Monaco.
Yeah, Hulkenberg in that session didn't look like at all. In Q2 didn't look like he was on the pace at all. But yeah, you were saying about I think, and then we've covered most of the everyone else really, apart from Van Dorn, who was 13th,
12th.
12th.
Yeah, he was just behind Hulkenberg.
Yeah, but I mean, I think that's all for qualifying. So we'll get onto the race. So turn one, quite clean, and it was a very clean start. There wasn't really anything there was no crashes or anything, which some would say was boring, but that's quite good. Quite good from the drivers, wouldn't you say, guys?
Well, there were no crashes, but Grosjean was very unhappy with Verstappen or Magnussen. So apparently they nearly put him in the wall at turn one.
Yeah, because Verstappen, he made up 2 positions in the first corner from both the Haas's. And yeah, looking around at that, I think Verstappen was on the outside, so I think it might have been Magnussen. So
Yeah.
I mean, you know, potential, you know, when they see it back, potential rifts in the team. You never know. I mean, like, obviously, it's very shaky down there with Grosjean's performances and Magnussen's. Well, I mean, being a Magnussen,
Oh,
but you know,
I mean,
sorry, Jeebus, but you know,
you can't go three into one. It's just not going to work. Like,
yeah,
Well,
You can barely go one round Monaco sometimes.
Had the start of that page didn't have a start. Like he was starting 18th and was behind both Magnussen and Verstappen by 10-1.
Grosjean's just having such a bad season.
yeah. The start has been. I mean, like, obviously, Australia was unkind to him, and then he's just had bad what was it? I think he had a bad strategy in Bahrain. China just wasn't there, and then Spain. Well, we all know what happened at Spain. Just nice, and also Baku. He's been almost the architect of his own downfall in some cases, where he's been in decent positions. But I believe his luck will change. I mean, this week showed that Haas definitely don't have definitely are not downforce based, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
There was an interesting point about that actually. They had to take off a lot of their barge boards for Monaco because I think they were just like tapping against the walls, then they couldn't get as close to the wall.
I think I heard it was said they were told to take them off because they kept falling off, like from previous races. They've seen them fall apart. I heard someone say something about they've been told to take them off in case they come off again.
Well, either way, they were like missing a lot of downforce.
Yeah.
So obviously that means that they're not going to be that not that good around there, obviously.
No.
So kind of a throwaway race for them. But getting back to it was a clean start. There wasn't, apart from I think Hartley lost a bit of his front wing, which he complained about, and that caused a bit of a unnerviness around the hairpin. Because there's a bit offline, there was a bit of debris, but that wasn't really a problem, properly a problem. But yeah, obviously the clean start. Ricardo just he was I think he was conserving his tires, so he didn't really pull away from Vettel in that way.
He did pull away. Like it was
but he was around the 2 second mark for most of the first stint.
Around Monaco, 2 seconds is quite comfortable. And then you stretched it out. By lap 5, I think it was about 3. It was constantly going up, and then they started getting into the conservation stage around lap 8 or something. Especially Mercedes, because Hamilton said that he was conserving after lap 6. Because the Mercedes just eats through its tyres.
Yeah, that was a problem he faced throughout the race, and he didn't look comfortable, especially on those hypersofts. They were just not on any of the tyres at all. Actually, really, of Hamilton, he was just complaining outright.
They were good on the Toro Rosso. Gasly going, what was it, 35 laps on them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Hulkenberg, who went something 40. He went 45, so he was definitely.
Yeah.
It showed that tyre had
best on nearly his 40th lap on the tyre.
Yeah, it shows the tyre it was good, but Hulkenberg didn't really have anyone ahead of him for dirty air purposes, and I think the Renault car didn't really eat through its tyres as Gio said with Hamilton, his car just seemed to just go through it rapidly. But I think through the first stint, we didn't really see much apart from Max Verstappen. He was obviously overtaking people. He made a lovely move down Stroll's inside, down into the Nouveau chicane, I'd like to say.
Yeah, Stroll just let him through.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Stroll's weekend was pretty crap, really.
Yeah.
Didn't he get a puncture on the 18th lap?
Yeah,
One of two.
He had a slow puncture after contact with Ericsson on lap 1.
Yeah, I'd like to. Sorry about. Sorry, go on, Jeebus.
And then he got another puncture because the issue with the Williams was that I think it was overheating, ridiculously amount. So the wheelbase started if you want, he explains it better, but they had heating issues which caused wheel rim.
Yeah. Sorry, Jeebus. We there's a bit of your mic's going a bit, so we didn't hear that. But you're talking about overheating.
Yeah, an overheating issue. Wheel just to just cut the tire.
Yeah, so so obviously it was not a good race for both of them. Obviously, Sirotkin at the start, nice 10-second time penalty, which he got from his mechanics being a bit late to put a tyre on, which is unfortunate for him.
Yeah.
Like he was starting in what was it 13th as well, which is quite a decent position for him, considering the Williams is like downforce is not renowned for it, I'd say.
Yeah.
No.
I believe Williams report was that they Williams had a wheel nut issue with trying to get the wheels on the car itself before start. So that's what actually caused the delay, and then going over the time limit.
Yeah, but 10-second time penalty is really like
That
I think that's excessive.
That basically killed his race before it even started.
Well, it was more than a
Yeah.
10-second penalty. It was a 10-second
It
stop.
was 30
again.
seconds. It was 30 seconds. It was the same thing given to Vettel in Baku last year. I mean, you can't really compare those two at all because one of them, one of them is completely out of his hands, and one of them he's deliberately done it. I mean, it's like it's not. It wasn't really fair on Sorokin. I felt, and his race was completely ripped to shreds. 30 seconds around Monaco can ruin you, and it did.
He had an amazing qualifying in P13.
Yeah,
I mean, he was top for something like in Q1. He was top for like a minute or so as well. Which
he suddenly pulled out a fast lap. It's like, hang on, what the hell has this just come from?
It's so sad for Sorokin because I feel like it was his weekend. Really, it was his turn to show up against Stroll, and then a wheel issue just rips it apart and kills it.
Yeah, he was like ahead of Stroll all weekend. Like every session, I think he was miles ahead of Stroll. Sorry, Jesus.
That's depressing.
Let's get on to the end of the first stint because I think that's where things got a bit more interesting, like that going into the start of the second stint on with most of them on the optional. So obviously, Verstappen stayed out and he was in P10. But what I was going to say is Ricardo kept his gap up until about lap 28, where. It was a heart in mouth moment for me because I heard him say loss of power, and I was like, "Oh no, please don't do this, not now!" Like because
the entire F1 world nearly died.
When the radio message come like, guys, lots of power. You could almost feel the entirety of Australia just waiting to flip the country if he had to retire.
I was just like, my heart was just like, no, please, and then I saw him like slow down a little bit. I was just like, oh god, is it happening? And then I mean, hats off to him because obviously if you don't know, Daniel did win, and like, well, it's been all over the news, but it was incredible driving from Daniel to like from lap 28, so he had to go 50 laps with an I think it was an MGUK or MGUH problem.
Yeah, he basically lost all the electrical power.
Well, he couldn't use 10th gear, which means he was forced to only use first to sixth. His brakes almost caused fire because of the MGUK problem, and as said, the MGUK failed. Basically, like half the car just failed, and he still managed to keep it.
Yeah.
That was like the best drive I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone was saying Schumacher 95. Sorry.
94.
Yeah, just like everyone was saying Schumacher 95, like when he was stuck in fifth gear, but Schumacher had like obviously that to contend with, but he didn't have like half the car was just dead. Like half the car was just like, nah, can we just stop now? And he still carried on. I mean, like hats off to him and the Red Bull team for keeping him motivated as well, because you could easily just lose like concentration. But I mean, like his team manager, his Jeff was amazing, I'd say.
You could almost hear it in the Red Bull team how much how good it was, because even Horner had to go on the radio and congratulate him for that one.
Yeah,
I think that speaks a bit of volume about what he had to do to keep that thing alive.
Yeah, because even Red Bull, I think, were thinking of even retiring the car because they thought it wouldn't make it to the end.
I think I read out was that Red Bull was so close to just saying box the car, retire.
I think Red Bull was like, we rather let the engine die than slow down.
Yeah, and to be honest, if there is a place to have a fail like that, it has to be Monaco.
Indeed.
Yeah, it was it was tough, but obviously he's made through it. But it kind of shows like like with Vettel like not being able to get past him, even with the issues. It just shows how bad I'll call it for the tyres, but like I looked at his left front. And his left front was absolutely gone. Like I think he had a problem on both front tyres, and it just showed like being behind and how the car was made. Like it just showed how his even though lack of speed with Ricardo, like it just the tyres didn't allow like Vettel to do anything. And obviously in the third sector thingy, Ricardo gained it all back what he lost in the first, but it was just ridiculous. Like the tyres just they annoyed me that race like massively.
The tyres this weekend were all over the place.
And we've got the same tyres next race. Yeah.
It's like you had teams in the midfield going 5 seconds faster than the guys up front. It's like,
yeah, I mean,
what is going on right now?
Speaking about the midfield teams, like I was in the 70th lap, and I saw that gap between Bottas and Ocon, and obviously in my head I knew, yeah, he's not going to get past due to just having trap position. But I was like, it's going down by 2 seconds a lap. This is a car this is a car on the same tyres, being from the same lap, and he's going 2 seconds faster than a Mercedes.
Like the gap was like 20 seconds at one point. He got it down to like being within half a second.
Yeah. I mean, he lost so much from the VSC. I mean, he was literally like right behind Bottas, and then I think the VSC got caught behind in traffic. But it was just like it just shows like that. I mean, I was watching the gap, and you see how close the cars were in the top 10. I mean, literally, it was only like 30 seconds or something like that, wasn't it? I think it was something like 30 seconds covered in the top 10, which is, considering the last few years, like that's incredible.
Oh yeah,
it was
top 9.
It was there was basically nothing between the top 9, and then it was like 40 seconds down to Sainz in 10th. Like,
yeah, I don't know what happened to Sainz. Did he pit again?
No, I think I think his tyres literally just died and he just stayed out.
Yeah.
Because I mean, when he let Hulkenberg through, that was just masterful driving.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't remember the corner name, but it was up the hill, and it was just
it was up towards Massillon.
Yeah, and they were on board. They were on board with him, and then they were talking to Cyril, like the team owner, and then the team principal, and then literally it happened straight away. And I was just like, that's the best place he probably could have done it, because I don't think Verstappen wouldn't go for anything through Massillon and Casino Square. Like that, and obviously it kind of led into the what happened next with the Sainz Verstappen battle, which is quite. I mean, it caused a bit of controversy, obviously, with especially down to the Nouveau chicane, because Max tried twice to get past them, and for the first time, Sainz he clearly cut the chicane, and Max wasn't happy about that. Don't you think, guys?
Well, I watched it over again. I don't think Sainz had anywhere to go with
it. I mean, you say that, but then
I think Max came in quite hot as well, because he didn't really. Because I watched the highlights not long before this, and it kind of looked like he kind of came in and kind of ran. I mean, it's a very narrow track, obviously, Monaco. He kind of ran him onto the curb.
Yeah, but if you look at what happened the second time, like it was kind of the same, kind of situation. Obviously, it wasn't Max diving down inside. We went on the outside, but he managed to almost like keep it on the track. Like he did his best to keep it on the track. Like he went over the curb. Like that probably would be a warning, like in any kind of game. But I mean,
I think he kind of did get warned, because I think afterwards his team radio guy said keep it clean for any other moves, as if they'd been told by like the FIA if he does it again there'll be a penalty.
Yeah.
Basically, game, like, be careful.
Yeah, but what are you supposed to do? Like, especially with like Verstappen, especially around Monaco, what are you supposed to do when you can't overtake? Like, there's only like 3 overtaking points.
The big issue was the lap before Sainz basically like got forced off the road, and he kept the position. So then a lap later, Verstappen like cut the chicane, and obviously the 2 drivers are complaining. But there's not a lot Verstappen could have done there.
No.
because there's no way you're going to be able to go too wide in there. So he saw he locked up, he broke as much as he could, and he just hopped on the curb and carried on.
Yeah.
And it was already clean past before the corner.
Yeah. And it was almost like in desperation as well, because Hulkenberg got through and he was catching Gasly by I think about a few seconds a lap, and then eventually caught up to Gasly. But he obviously he wanted that P7, and he drove well in the end. But I mean, it's just he could, in any other track he would have got up to the top 6, but because obviously it's Monaco, it was so hard to overtake that he just was stuck in that train for literally about 10 laps on much better tyres than Gasly, and Hulkenberg was on the same tyre wear in retrospect, but it was just stuck behind them, and then got stuck behind Ocon as well. I mean, it was just straight for Max, I guess.
Talking about Hulkenberg, you could just see the effect the new tyres had for everyone else. He got past Sainz, and in about a lap or two was 11 and a half seconds up the road. It was just Jesus.
That was
I think by the end of it was third fastest lap, behind who was it? Max Verstappen and Esteban Ocon. I mean, both of those put in fastest laps. But
Max got the track record, then it was Grosjean, then it was Lance Stroll. Because Stroll pit for Hypers and he had clean air.
Oh yeah, Stroll pit for. Well, I mean,
he was the first one to suddenly go 5 seconds quicker than the leaders. It was suddenly it was the eye opener. Hang on.
And I imagine Grosjean went for fastest lap because.
He also pitted quite late, I think.
Hulkenberg.
Rip to the fastest lap though. Didn't get anywhere near it. Because it's nice for Verstappen on hypersauce, but. I think obviously that shows it, and there was there was no. They were talking about how there was no retirements, and I think about a few laps later, as a McLaren fan, I'm quite disappointed to this. From 7th place, Alonso retires with a gearbox failure, and it's the first DNF of the season. Well, what more can I say? Just really.
Classic McLaren, really, over the last couple of years.
Yeah.
I mean, they've been really sorry, Jeebus, but they've been really reliable this season. There's not been much apart from this weekend. There's not been much wrong with them.
Yeah, they've only had 2 retirements, one in Spain with Van Dorn, and now this with Alonso.
Yeah,
the first 4 races they went through fine.
Until this race, Alonso had the 3rd longest point streak, except for Vettel and Hamilton.
Yeah.
You were saying, Jeebus, sorry, I cut you off. So, what were you going to say?
It don't matter.
Okay. But it from 7th, that would mean I don't know if you'd have kept. I think obviously you would have kept it from track position, but it was just frustrating to see because he was up there. I mean, McLaren, as much as they should be doing well in Monaco, struggled this weekend. I felt it was just I think we were talking before the podcast about how Alonso's outperforming that car madly, and it shows really because in Q1. I mean, I know they weren't pushing as hard, but he was only 3 tenths off the Mercedes.
I mean, talking about McLaren and the claim they've had for the last couple of years of we've got the best chassis, and we come to the track where chassis means the most, and they're they're basically still where they were last year. Yeah,
but you could say that talking about the best chassis, but however they've had to change it a bit to do so they can get that more down some more speed this year, obviously because they were in testing, they were hugely off the pace. And they've done some work to get from Australia. They've done some work to be able to get their down. Sorry, Karen.
Sorry, I kind of cut you off there, but the issue is that McLaren this size 0 thing, which they tried in 2015 with a Honda engine, and it didn't work. And then they're we've got a new engine. Let's do this concept again. Oh, it's not worked again because we haven't got the engine dimensions properly right. So then they haven't got enough cooling, so they had to widen that out in the second week of testing. And they've still had to keep that there. Then they're like, okay, we're gonna like massively improve everything in the car for Spain. They radically changed the front of the car, which does nothing. Like, effectively does nothing. They haven't really touched the rear of the car, which is like their main issue, because they're massively down on drag. And it's just like, McLaren are just bad. Like, you can see why they've sacked Tim Goss, and it's like the same thing that we talked about last week in the podcast about Bollier and the entire team. Simon made the point that Alonso's just like outperforming the car, and Van Dorn showing where he is, which is like 6th best.
Yeah, you got a good point there, and also it's McLaren for that, and I like to like just have optimism, but I can't really have optimism that like both drivers are going to be there, because there's so much, there's such a stark difference. Obviously, shown in this race, like Alonso was up there in P7, like having a very consistent. It was a consistently good race. I mean, he's been up there for most of the season so far, like in the points. And Van Dorn, he's only got points really from where there's people who have retired. Really, he's always been like 11th or 12th.
He had a great race in Bahrain, to be fair to him.
Yeah, but I mean, that's like one great race out of 6.
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
the pressure is mounting on him.
Yeah.
You can kind of say the same about like Stroll. Like, you know, he had a good race in Baku. I mean, one good race out of 6. It's like pressure.
Oh,
No.
God.
I massively disagree with that.
Here we go.
I will go on the Stroll. I will go on a Stroll rant if you don't.
Right.
Just don't accept that.
Spain.
No.
Look at Spain. How bad that car was, and he got 11.
Yes,
like, you just say Baku was good because he got points, but it was because the car was somewhat competitive in Baku. It's like even in China and Bahrain, where the car is
acted
shit.
like a spoiled little brat.
The car is so shit. I mean, like, what can you expect? Like, you're just attacking his personality. It's his second year of F1. It's his second year of F1, and he shouldn't have been in the car in the first place. Like, I'll be the first to admit.
He shouldn't be in F1, I'm sorry.
No,
he should have had a few more years in the junior series, F2, F3.
Exactly.
He jumped from Formula 3 to thingy straight away. I mean, it's like
F3 champion, which, you know, other people have done, but he was 17 at the time, and he clearly wasn't mature enough. But at the end of the day, I made this comment last year multiple times. If you've got a rich dad and he offers you a seat in F1, you're not going to reject it. He clearly has talent.
Yeah, but he has talent, but
he's not a team leader. He's not a team leader, I'll admit that. But what can you expect from him? He's fucking 18.
Yeah, but if you think about it, like just
like Verstappen was the exact same at Toro Rosso. The exact same, and he got a fucking promotion to Red Bull, and now people are going, oh, look, he's the next world champion, and now he's doing shit. But no one's like going, oh, he shouldn't be in F1. Like, Stroll's actually doing well. Excuse him for not, like, being fucking Felipe Massa, but he hasn't had 20 years in the sport.
Yeah, but it's debatable saying do. I mean, we can go on forever, but it's debatable saying he's doing well. Like, I mean,
he's doing well. Have you seen that car? Yeah. He hasn't done well at Monaco because
the car's complete wank. I understand
the car
that,
is
but
complete
it's just
wank. And he has only ever had 2 races at Monaco.
I mean, I don't agree.
Sorokin has had multiple years in F2 and GP3 at Monaco, and he has so much more experience at Monaco. Stroll clearly doesn't go well there because the car just doesn't have enough downforce.
Yeah, we'll see next. All right, okay, let's agree to disagree. We'll see next race in Canada whether it actually does well, because it's more based around straight line speed, which should be better for him, obviously. So let's just get on.
It's not, because the car hasn't got straight line speed either. So you can't just say, oh, we'll judge him on one race, because you're just overlooking. I'm sorry, but I'm really passionate about this.
Yeah, I understand that, but it's just
it's like the criticism that Magnussen got last season. It's just he's not as good as Grosjean, so he's shit. Let's get him out of the sport. It's like it's why I've like the F1 word is. I'm calling people out now. The F1 word is an idiot. It's a fucking idiot. Just like oh they're not doing badly, and then he's like writing people off. He's like no, Sorokin and Stroll shouldn't be in F1 because they're pay drivers. Yet the entire fucking grid are pay drivers.
Okay. Can we move?
Shall we get back onto the topic?
Can I quickly do a disclaimer here?
Okay, let's
that was a Pearson view. The view does not represent the entire podcast.
No, we're gonna get on next week.
Yeah, I mean that yeah.
Okay,
before
that
we ruin the podcast,
that concludes my
let's,
little rant.
yeah. Before we completely destroy the podcast, let's go on to Leclerc now. The only real like proper crash we saw obviously was Leclerc suspected brake failure, and I mean it's just unfortunate because I mean it was
very much wasn't
brake failure.
You saw on the replay, his left front tire didn't move, but it did move.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
You saw.
Yeah, there was like a puff of black smoke, and then the wheel just didn't lock.
Like,
It was quite funny. It was quite funny that they were saying, "Oh, he's got like Hartley's team, Hartley's Jeff." He literally just said, "Oh, he's Leclerc's got a problem," and then literally the next corner, Leclerc goes straight into the back of him. I kind of laughed at that almost. It was fucking.
The sad thing about the crash, you can see how Leclerc tries to steer away and keep and like try not to hit Hartley. Like he's out hitting the wall basically to try and avoid Hartley.
Yeah.
And like you can't fault Leclerc the fact that the brakes just don't want to work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He did all he could to try and avoid it, but it's Monaco. There's no space, and he tried his best, but there's nothing he could do.
Interestingly, he's the first Monegasque driver to retire from his home Grand Prix, and he has never finished a race at Monaco because he retired from both F2 races last season.
Maybe Monaco is not to be for Charles Leclerc, but we'll see obviously in the future because he is definitely one for the future, as pretty much everyone is saying in the F1 world. But yeah, obviously he could do nothing about the crash. It kind of ruined Hartley's race. It would definitely ruin Hartley's race as well. Both of them in 11th and 12th. Not really fighting for points, but I mean, just for pride, and yeah, it's put them both out of the race there. But I think that's really concluded the main action and highlights of the race. There was obviously there was the battle with there's a few battles, but there was no real like overtaking maneuvers. I mean, there was Hulkenberg, there was Gasly, Hulkenberg, and Verstappen, but they were just following each other as Monaco does. But I think that's all for highlights, guys.
Did Gasly overtake Hulkenberg?
No, Gasly was
ahead in the pit stops, and
yeah, because Gasly pitted earlier and made the time up because he didn't have any. He only had Verstappen ahead of him.
He did the
yeah, and so the race results. So obviously Danny Ricciardo wins. With all the stuff against him, it was amazing to watch him. Go across the line there. Well deserved for him, definitely. Seb in second and Hamilton in third. So the gap is now down to 14 points. So he's making slight gains, but we'll see in the next few races because the next few are I personally say to Hamilton's strong point. They're definitely ones that will favour him,
especially Canada. That's basically Hamilton territory.
He loves Canada. I mean, the amount of poles he's got there, the amount of wind he's got there, just. He's Canada man.
It's on F1 2017, like the AI aren't good around Canada. They basically just put you in Hamilton's shoes.
Yeah.
Here's what it's like to be like Lewis.
Yeah, but and then we had Kimi Räikkönen in fourth. Really couldn't make any gains on Hamilton, but he didn't really have much behind him in Bottas, who was just struggling with dirty air, really, I'd say, and lack of pace. Bottas in fifth, Ocon in sixth. Good drive by the Force India man. It was it was nice to see him up there, and definitely it's a pride, I'd say. obviously we were talking about Gasly, Hulkenberg, and Verstappen 7th, 8th, and 9th respectively. And Carlos Sainz rounds off the points just ahead of Marcus Ericsson in 11th, and then Perez, he had a bad pit stop, so he was down in 12th, which is unfortunate for him. Magnussen 13th, Grosjean, Matt Van Dorn, who had a late pit stop in 14th. Grosjean Grosjean was 15th. Stroll, Sorokin and Stroll 16th, 17th, and then technically Leclerc and Hartley were counted, but they obviously did retire. And then Alonso was the only official retiree of the race, so nice McLaren. But yeah, that's to round up Monaco. All we got to do is do our racings, obviously. So we're going to start with Daniel, your race rating and why.
I'd probably say like a 4.5. It wasn't like catastrophically bad. There was basically Monaco this year was all about the tension. It was like, was Ricardo going to get to the end? How are the tyres going to go? Stuff like that. You probably knew there was not going to get any action, but it was more about the tension.
Yeah, fair enough. Simon, your race rating and why?
5 out of 10. Mostly down to the tension between, like, could Ricardo get to the end of the race without completely breaking the car and the engine?
Jeebus, your rating and why?
Yeah, 5 out of 10 as well, basically for the same reasons. There was some tension, and for Monaco, it was good. But for any of the race, it was awful.
Geordie, your rating?
Yeah, literally the same, 5 out of 10. Tension again, but it's Monaco, and you know that nothing is probably going to happen.
Yep. Unfortunately, Safa's unfortunately couldn't be here at the end of the podcast.
Leave.
His contribution was great once again, but Daniel has so Daniel has his predictions.
His Monaco rating was 4.25. He says the strategy was probably the most interesting thing.
Yeah, very specific from Saf as always. I'll probably echo in the way like it was 5 out of 10. But it was nice to see It was nice to see at the end the drama with the midfield catching up and everything, and the tension as well with Ricardo. Would he make it? Would he not? And yeah, I think even though there wasn't many crashes, the crash that did happen was quite spectacular. So I'd say definitely a 5 out of 10. It was better than Australia, but definitely better than Australia. But and not much else could be worse than that. I think we should give a slight shout out to the Indy 500 as well. I mean, it wasn't like obviously last year we talked about it and we talked about it was quite a good one, but I'd like to be an unpopular opinion say this one was quite shit.
That's not an unpopular opinion. That is, it's kind of.
The popular opinion. It was quite bad.
Sorry. Yeah. Well. I mean, if it was unpopular, I think we'd have a lot of brain. People need to actually get brain cells. But yeah, it was very, very dull. I mean, one thing we picked up was it was just the lower aero, and did it work?
No,
didn't.
I spoke with a couple of people, including some of the people on the podcast. The aero just. The new aero package which IndyCar did for this year, the DW18 I believe it's called, just the oval, the speedway oval package just doesn't seem to work around Indianapolis. It was the dirty air simply made the front loose, which caused, I think it was 5 or 6 people they caused them to retire. So just the bad air caused them to spin into the walls, including Danica Patrick, who finished her career in the wall.
Yeah, that's pretty sad for her.
Multiple of the now basically one-timers, Christian Neves and such, especially Christian Neves, who chased his 4th in the 500 win, ended in the wall because he spun into the pit lane. In general, like
Yeah.
the air package just seemed to have some problems with it. With multiple of the IndyCar guys going out and saying like it just didn't work. Although there was a record set, a bit of history said as Stephen Wilson took the lead towards the end for a few laps, making him and the late Justin Wilson the only fourth brother pairing to have led the Indy 500.
No, that's
Nice. That's a
Yeah.
nice little thing.
It's quite a nice story. Obviously,
Yeah.
Justin Wilson tragically died, in an accident, and it's unfortunate, but it's nice to hear, a nice feel good story out of it.
Yeah, that was I read it afterwards through Stephen Wilson myself. It was a feel good story. The fact that he got to lead those few laps, and set and write that little piece of history.
Yeah.
Yeah, and obviously, last year was. I watched the Indy 500 last year. I didn't watch it this year. I just saw the highlights. But last year, it was incredible. I mean, I watched things like the Dixon crash and all that, and it was incredible. Like watching the Sata actually winning and all that. But it was just this year, from what I thought was just quite disappointing. And I think we've highlighted it reasons why. Just lack of feel in the track. It wasn't really. It didn't feel like IndyCar properly.
You could
In
see
my- in
you
my
could see it was a new aero package year for the IndyCar, and
Yeah.
that the old aero package would definitely have to need some work on it for next year. So
Yeah,
Dallara got a minor job for himself.
yeah.
Another
And I think that's all for Indy. Obviously, we've covered it briefly. I think Simon's done a very good job of just explaining what happened. But I think that a bit of news before we move on to the our predictions for Canada, and I think we'll do a driver of the day along with that. Just Simone Resta, who was a former he's former Ferrari, now at Sauber. He was a senior Ferrari member.
Technically still
is
is.
quite
Technically still
interesting.
is, by the way. Technically still is until the end of the month.
Yeah.
But obviously moving to Sauber, quite interesting.
It was the head of vehicle performance, I think it
No,
is.
it was vehicle project vehicle or something like that.
Right,
Or something
so-
with a project.
But yeah, clearly showing the Ferrari Sauber links.
Yeah.
And
And
it getting stronger.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
people like complain about Haas.
Yeah,
Hopefully it just helps out
now
Wow get someone like that.
I think Ferrari have found their new, that they're a new, little brother. To be fair,
They're Toro Rosso, let's say.
Toro Rosso.
Yeah, and it's it's good for people like Leclerc, who obviously are, they're going to prosper from this, and be able to drive a car that's close to what he would be driving if he was in the Ferrari. But
It's good for
it's good
Sauber
for
overall,
Sauber as well. Yeah, I was about to say good for Sauber
just to
as
get
well.
someone, another top person from a team like Ferrari, it's going to boost them massively.
Yeah. But yeah, that covers really for news. I think we've covered Fernando Alonso's distaste and for Monaco and everything. But let's get on to our driver of the day because we obviously I've left it a bit late. Sorry about that. But let's go and do our driver of the day. So Daniel, your driver of the day, please.
Ricardo. But I'd like to do honourable shout-outs to people like Ocon, Gasly, and also Verstappen, because of course he came from last up to 9th. But the way Ricardo controlled that race, even with his issue, was easily worst driver of the day.
Yep. Simon, your driver of the day and why, please?
Ricardo him because of the struggle he had to go through. Like the amount of things that broke on that car, and he still managed to pull that thing home for the victory was admirable in a way.
Yep. Jeebus, your driver of the day.
Again, Ricardo. It's just a masterful drive. Incredible what he did. Honourable mention though to Pierre Gasly, who had a good weekend.
Geordie.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna exclude Ricardo for obvious reasons. So I'm gonna say, purely driver of the day, Verstappen, just for being the only one who did some overtaking.
Typical.
Fair enough.
Nice Dutch man.
Yeah, typical.
And,
The Dutchman goes for Verstappen.
I'm gonna, just not echo, but I was gonna say Lance Stroll's my driver of the day. It was an incredible drive by him, and the punch was just a bit unlucky. Solid drive by the Canadian. But I think that's all for.
You're so funny.
Sorry, GUS, love you really. But just now we're gonna get on to our predictions for Canada. Obviously, that's the next race. We'll see them in about, I think, a week. So
2 weeks.
Yeah,
2 weeks. Oh, cheeky. So we're gonna have Daniel, your as we always do, pole man and your race winner.
I think it's going to be Hamilton. He loves Canada so much, and I think Mercedes will be back from Monaco.
Simon.
So we're gonna go against Storm and go fell. Like I feel like
Oh,
Ferrari will be on the hunt for some more points after both Spain and Monaco, where they lost them. So I think they'll be on the hunt, and with an engine that is supposedly just as good as Mercedes now, according to Mercedes, things are looking off for them.
yep, that is fair enough. Jeebus, your race man and your pole man, please.
I'm gonna say Hamilton pole, Vettel win.
Ooh.
Cheeky.
I think Merc are gonna have such bad tyre wear that Ferrari just gonna be able to capitalise.
Yep. We got Jordy, your pole man and your race man.
Just Hamilton's gonna smash Pole and win by like a minute. No,
Oh, but what about Verstappen?
he will be second.
That's nice.
Yep. Betraying the Dutch cause, and I'm gonna go with Hamilton win. Hamilton pole. Just literally. As much as I don't like to say it, he'll just dominate. I mean, he literally loves the track. Just is. It's pretty much his baby. I mean, it's literally just Just if he
Saf
was
also went Hamilton pole, Hamilton win, by the way.
No, yeah, we can't forget Saf.
Good old
yeah,
You literally forgot Saf, didn't you?
yeah.
Lucky I remembered.
Sorry, Saf, if you're listening. We won't forget you again. We won't
Gone but
forget
never
you.
forgotten.
But yeah, I think that's all for this podcast this week. Thank you for listening. We will be back. I don't know if we'll do a one next week, maybe. I don't know. Just we'll see. We'll see. We'll keep you updated on Twitter. If you want to follow our Twitter, it'll be in the link in the description. And obviously, please do like and subscribe. And guys, say goodbye.
Adios.
Bye.
See you
Comedian
into
is great.
production.
Yep. Thank you, and adios, guys.